Garlic. Minister, you're welcome to the House, and I will be supporting the bill, but reluctantly, because I believe it's a measure that should never have had to come about. I don't know what has happened since the recent government was formed, but for some peculiar reason, you seem to be, as a government, losing more and more of the public support that the last government had. The last government was hanging on by their fingernails after the general election while we were waiting for the formation of government, and yet you had the confidence of the people, all of the time. And in recent weeks, the mixed messages that have been coming out have left everybody confused. And the number of people who say to me, look, at the government haven't a bloody clue what they're doing, so I'm going to do my own thing anyway, has led to a need for us to start considering statutory instruments and emergency legislation, and we're tucking things into emergency legislation that should never have been brought in under the cover or the guise of COVID-19. I listened to Antoinette Cunningham, the General Secretary of the AGSI, and her concerns about the way in which legislation has been drafted. And I would like today, Minister, if you could reassure me that in drafting this legislation, that you have sat down with the AGSI and the GRA and the superintendents and asked them how the powers they already have are meeting their needs with respect to dealing with COVID-19, and what they need in legislation. Because we need legislation that has teeth in it, that is capable of doing the job that we want it to do. And we don't want to be publishing legislation for the hell of it. We also want ministers to liaise with each other before they go on national media and come with the same story all of the time. It makes it very difficult for you if another minister is saying something different to what you are. Even if it's only a slight nuance that it's different, it causes concern in the public domain, and that's something that we have to take on board. I've always felt that the rural pubs got a raw deal, because I know in my own hometown of Galway, if you go out into Connemara, or my wife's home place down in Kilkenny, if you go to some of the rural pubs, you'd be lucky on any day to find 4 or 5 people in them. And social distancing was never a problem, because they all sat in their respective corners and it wasn't. The problem is the rural or the urban pubs that have no interest in their colleague publicans or in your and your government's efforts in public health. They are grabbing what they can. I was on holidays in a particular part of the country, and my 5-year-old granddaughter said to me, "Oh, Grandad, we can't go in there, there's no social distance." A 5-year-old could tell me that they were in there abusing the public health, and yet the people that were in there, all happy in themselves, that they didn't give a continental damn, they were having a night out, and to hell with everybody else. I'm delighted to hear Micheál Martin say that we are now talking about living with this condition rather than fighting it. We can't beat COVID-19. The best brains in the world can't do it right now. So we're learning to live with it. And that's the important thing going forward. Those greedy publicans who want to pack their pubs, we need to close them down. They're not doing anybody any service. But there is one other thing we need to do, Minister. And I have sat and I have watched the Dáil on TV, and I have watched it in this House, where people stand up and demand that we allow more people to attend this or that or the other. The last government was led by the science. They listened to the scientists and they implemented what the scientists were telling them. Let's, for God's sake, get back to that stage. Let's start listening to the scientists and obeying or agreeing with what they're trying to do. It's in all of our interests. And I fully support what you're trying to do, Minister, but I would ask you, when you go back to Cabinet, let's have one voice telling one story that is clear, simple rules for everybody. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Senator.